Bucknutters. It is Thursday, November 17th, 2016. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. If it's Thursday, that can mean only one thing. Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports, checks in from the capital of Indiana. Steve, how goes it this fine morning?
Good morning, Daniel. I'm still feeling good, man. I was in Columbus yesterday, and when you're inside that Ohio State football facility, it's hard not to be in a great mood. I mean, it's a beautiful, sharp, pristine, luxurious building where everyone walking around just seems excited to be there. So that just makes you feel happy. You know, it was a cool visit. I was in there for a few hours, and then my brother lives in Grove City, so had some dinner with my brother and his wife, and then drove back to Indianapolis and got home about midnight and up early, ready to get back after it today.
It's a sunny day here in the Gem City. For those who wondered, got a little Indian summer kicking in. Varsity hoops starts tonight, so should be a big one. Let's talk about your trip there. I'll mix things up here. First of all, just for the people, you've been to a lot of facilities. How does the WHAC compare, you think, on a national scale of the places you've been?
Well, it's like my fourth time there, but you just forget how nice it is until you walk back into it, especially when you've been to some other places. I was at Miami a couple weeks ago. They're rebuilding, or they're actually basically starting from scratch, rebuilding.
Miami of Florida.
Yeah. And Ohio State is so nice. I mean, it's just the attention to detail with all the interior design is phenomenal. Again, all the people in there, you know, just happy, nice people, you know, all, you know, with the same goal in mind, which is what can they do to help Ohio State win a national championship. And, you know, I tweeted a picture this morning, you know, the first thing you see when you walk in, one of the first things you see, depending on where you're looking, above the door there in the Leo Yasinoff lobby, you got 7 NFL jerseys hanging up there: Shazier, Bosa, Elliott, Apple, Roby, Lee, Decker, just hanging up there, reminding people, in addition to the success that we have on Saturdays, you know, we produce NFL talent at a high level. And the goal is to continue to do that on a year in, year out basis. Plenty of NFL guys walking around inside that facility right now. And then another thing that really stands out, you know, I saw Joey Bosa walking around in the facility yesterday. I saw Jalen Marshall walking around in the facility yesterday as well, and Josh Perry, and just how happy they are to be back. You know, Ohio State wasn't just the stage in their life to get them ready for their ultimate goal. It was their home, and they loved their time at Ohio State, and just seeing them interact with everybody in the hallways. They weren't just football players at Ohio State. They were part of a football community at Ohio State, shaking hands with everybody in the facility, seeing people walk up to them. They're such high profile young guys. Just seeing people walk up to them and happy to see them, and it's mutual. Just that community feel. That's an extra inch that why these guys play so hard. You know, that why they're so vested in Ohio State football. You know, that culture. We always talk about Mickey Moretti and that competitive culture that he helps bring to the table. Obviously, it starts at the top with Urban Meyer, and then Mickey Moretti being the best, and Mark Pantoni and his staff looking for those traits when they're evaluating high school players, breaking down high school players, and the assistant coaches when they go into the high schools and when they're watching tape. They're all looking for those traits that fit that culture, but then to just see it in person, getting those guys, you know, on and off the field really is a special atmosphere at Ohio State.
I was going to use the buzzword if you didn't raise it there. It's become like the word of the modern football team culture. That's exactly. Then the word is culture. It just means it's like your overall vibe of the program. Ohio
It's
State
very
has that for sure.
no question. It's very competitive on the football field, very competitive on the practice field, but then off the field, by design, by the players they recruit, by the people Urban Meyer has hired in all roles. It's like a brotherhood type fraternity. It's like an organization, a club that people are excited to be part of, not just the players, but everybody in that facility. Even talking to the student that checked me in, how excited she is to be there, how excited she is to work recruiting weekends, how excited she is to, do her role. It's just it was just a fun atmosphere to be in because everyone was having fun even though they were grinding.
I imagine if you went to Google or some other company that's uber successful like Ohio State, you'd get a lot of the same traits. So this is not just football stuff. They know how to build culture over there to win and create great young men. And in fact, those guys you mentioned in the first place, they all have something in common, and that's being a first-round draft pick. So that's one of the first things you see when you walk in. And I said this ad nauseum. Every single kid who comes to Ohio State on scholarship for football thinks he's going to the NFL. Now, he's probably right, but that certainly hasn't hurt it. And this just in, the two best rookies in the league, one was there yesterday and one is in Dallas. So good stuff. So that's the positive part to begin the show. I don't know if this is negative or not, but let's discuss. Steve, last night you updated your crystal ball prediction on a guy already committed to Ohio State. That's Jake Moretti, standout offensive lineman out of Colorado. Been committed for quite some time. You put a crystal ball in for Colorado. How much of that is his current recruiting situation with Ohio State, and how much of that is the fact that Colorado has a pulse for the first time since Eric Bieniemy was toting the rock?
I just think staying closer to home has become a little more important than it was originally, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But obviously, I wouldn't have put in the pick if I didn't think that's what was going to happen, at least right now. So I just think as he's gone through the process and it's getting closer to his time to enroll, I just think staying closer to home has become a little more important.
Do you have any vibe that you'll be flipping this crystal ball back? Or are you pretty confident this is where he's going to end up?
Well, I don't think I'm allowed to flip it back since he's still committed on the Ohio State commit list. So, and I had the original Ohio State pick, so I don't.
At least you're a trendsetter.
Right. So, we'll see. He's such a great kid, and Ohio State, likes him a ton, obviously, too. He was a top of the board recruit for them, and he's a guy I'll be rooting for on the next level, whether he's a Buckeye or a Buffalo, especially coming off the injury. You hope he, gets back to doing what he does best, or one of the things he does best.
All right, let's talk about who could take his place in the class hypothetically. We have a huge visit weekend coming up. We will talk about the Michigan State game to end the show, but in terms of the next big recruiting visit extravaganza, that's obviously going to be the game. The list of players expected to attend reads like an all-star game roster. I'm going to bring up some names. You tell me just a quick vibe on where they are at their recruitment level. We've obviously talked about all these guys a ton. Jay Tufele, defensive lineman out of Utah.
Hold on, Dan. I'm getting another call. It's from Dak Prescott. I think he heard you say earlier that the two best rookies. I'm just kidding. Your boy Dak from your squad.
Embrace reality is what I would say to him. Go ahead.
Who was it? You asked me about Jake Tufele. Obviously,
correct.
Ohio State's excited to get him the nation's number 3 defensive tackle for the industry-generated 24/7 Sports Composite on campus next weekend. He's been to Michigan already, so this is going to be his second time watching Michigan play. I think Michigan's obviously very much in it. Washington Huskies, he's got a great relationship with the defensive line coach. Washington, who's got Utah ties, coached at Utah State. Jay Tufele's out of South Jordan, Utah, Bingham High, number 1 player in Utah. No doubt Urban Meyer's got a great reputation in that state with what he did with the Utes. I wish I could say that in my cousin Vinny voice, but the Utes. So Ohio State's going to get a chance to make a great impression on Jay, and they've always been a top contender, and Larry Johnson's a guy that he's got great respect for. Jay loves watching Ohio State play. He's told me that, loves watching the young D-line play. So I expect him to have a great weekend, and we'll see what happens after that.
Baron Browning, linebacker out of Texas.
Ohio State's very much in it. You know, my pick right now is UCLA. I think they've been the one consistent school that's been there for him from the beginning. But Ohio State, I think that if you ask Ohio State people, they think they got a really good shot to land Barron. Barron's coming with his family. So it's going to be another opportunity to impress a very intelligent family. He's certainly going to see the opportunity that he has at a place like Ohio State to develop within a culture that certainly would fit him. So I'm not predicting Ohio State right now, but I'm not ruling them out. And I actually like Ohio State's position better than I did a couple months ago coming out of the summer. Time flies, damn. But Ohio State's kind of trending with me for Barron, but I'm not ready to pick them just yet. But great list, man. We got a lot more guys to talk about.
No doubt. Cam Akers, running back out of Mississippi. I almost said Ole Miss. That was a Freudian slip. Go ahead.
So I'm still the lone LSU pick on the crystal ball, I believe, or maybe someone else joined me. I'm one of the very few. I really like where LSU stands with Cam Akers, the nation's number 2 running back in the country per 24/7 Sports. It's very debatable if he's one. I mean, he's a fantastic talent. I honestly would take him over Najee Harris. That's no disrespect to Najee, who I'd love to have on my roster also. But Cam's so versatile and such a fantastic athlete, and that's what separates him with that size. Ohio State in that top 2 or 3 for me. Maybe he'll go to Ole Miss, but right now I'm just not predicting Ole Miss. Florida State, there's a lot of confidence down in Tallahassee that they lead or have a great shot at him. Ohio State, they've been there from the beginning for Cam. They've had him on campus. This is another opportunity. Ohio State has a great depth chart situation for Cam and JK to both come in and be instant impact type guys and play, with Michael Weber being the only proven true running back on the roster. Those guys would have an opportunity to come in and run hard and get snaps.
Jeffrey Okudah, safety out of, cornerback.
Buckeye. There's nothing left to be said. If Jeffrey Okudah doesn't go to Ohio State, it would be one of the bigger shockers for me in the 2017 class, if not the most shocking thing in the 2017 class.
Is there any plan that you've heard that this could be his weekend?
I'm not sure what his decision timeline is. Sure. I mean, if he popped today, I wouldn't be surprised. So
I got you.
If he popped in Urban Meyer's office and capped the weekend with the commitment, or if he got there off the plane and got it rolling with the commitment, I don't know what his plan is, to be 100% honest. There isn't a person that I've talked to that says he's going anywhere but Ohio State. And it's because Ohio State earned it. Ohio State, Urban Meyer, one of the best head coach recruiters of all time, from the staff that, has recruited him, doing a great job getting to know not just Jeff, but his circle of trust, and really, obviously the track record of producing players at his position. There's so many reasons why he's going to pick Ohio State.
And we're happy about all of them. Like I've said this to people, go watch his tape. Go click on his name and go look at his profile and watch the tape. It will blow you away. He might be the best tackling defensive back I've seen on tape since I've been up here. He's just an elite athlete. I mean, he really is the prototype corner for the modern era, at about 6'1", and just runs like the wind, hits like a truck. So that's great news to finish off on. On the recruiting side, now we're going to let you show your college football analyst stripes. I've always been a major proponent of Michigan State, largely because you know the staff, how hard they work, etc. This year has not been their year, clearly, with losses to Illinois and Maryland on the docket. I mean, that's just staggering Every week
It
I
really
see those
is.
scores, I'm amazed. I'm amazed. I just can't put it into words. But everyone's talking about Michigan. We just talked about the recruiting visits at Michigan. Yet Ohio State has to go on the road to play the team that has had, let's say, had their number, but has beaten them a couple times.
The only team in the
with
Big
multiple,
Ten that's beaten Urban Meyer.
Right.
Oh,
Only team with multiple dubs too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Look, here's the deal. Here's the deal with Michigan State. Been a horrendous year for them. Certainly not anything I imagined going into the year. I think people thought that they would take a step back. I was not one of them. I mean, I didn't think they'd make the playoff. I didn't have a Big Ten team in the playoff, so I kind of undervalued the whole league, which kind of sucks because let's be honest, I watch all the Big Ten games. I like the Big Ten. So, kind of in hindsight, pisses me off that I wasn't the first one to trumpet the league this year when it's, a league that I love. So, and where I know a lot of people and recruits, coaches, these are a lot of guys that I root for, to have success as human beings. So anyway, Michigan State, I think, for them, one of their biggest problems, in addition to having to have a quarterback that's more of a game manager than a guy that makes plays to help them win games, they just haven't had, in my opinion, great leadership this year. And that's something that's been one of their bench stones. They've had good leadership, which keeps the fringe athletes more likely to do the right things when you have good locker room leadership than not. And so when you lose, not only did they lose great players in Shalik Calhoun and Conklin and guys like that, they lost guys, great leaders in the locker room that players followed their example. And now I don't think that they have great leadership right now. And that'll change again, like when you look at a guy like Donnie Corley, and they got a lot of good kids in that locker room, but their leadership hasn't been great in my opinion. And I think it's reflected with the consistency that they've played with. They haven't played consistently for 60 minutes very much this year. And if you watch them, they have guys. They have difference makers. They have guys that can make plays against Michigan. They battled Michigan. They got some guys. They have an opportunity to do some things even against an Ohio State team that could frustrate the Buckeyes. But I think Ohio State wins comfortably when it's all said and done. But you watch the way Michigan State ran the football against Michigan. I mean, Michigan was stopping the run against everybody. I know they weren't playing great teams, but they were dominant. And then L.J. Scott just played like a great player in that ball game. I mean, he ran with so much authority. Why isn't that something that they're doing every week? So you wonder, is that the type of game that they're going to bring to play against the Buckeyes in the evening? That's certainly something that Ohio State's preparing for. They're expecting to get Michigan State's best shot. Now, hey, Michigan State may lay down. They're 3-7 or whatever the hell they are. So they may get down quick and then throw in the towel. They're capable of that this year, which is crazy to say about a Mark D'Antonio team. And they've been in every game they've played in. So that's more of just a projection. I mean, they've battled, even those shocking losses, they had a chance to win them. They were trying to go downfield and beat Illinois and didn't get those final points in the red zone. Maryland, I didn't watch much of that game because the Cubs were on and Ohio State was playing Penn State at the same time, and so I didn't see much of that. But yeah, they got some guys, but they're not playing Michigan State football for 60 minutes this year. It's that's the biggest surprise for me in college football this year is Michigan State being bad.
I'll tell you, I went to Columbus for the Ohio State-Nebraska game, which was on the same day of the Illinois-Michigan State game. When I arrived at my college roommate's house getting ready to go down to the stadium, he said, "Hey, Michigan State is in a close game with Illinois. Let's see if they win." And I said, when you're in a close game with Illinois, there are no winners. Okay? It's an indictment of your program. But what's your pick? Give us a number.
Oh, I got the Buckeyes. The game I'm real excited to. Indiana, if Kevin Wilson dials up Kevin Wilson is capable of dialing up a great game plan to score points. Indiana's problem, they've turned the ball over. this year with a new
They
quarterback.
play Michigan.
They play Michigan. Michigan, if they don't have Wilton Spate, you don't know what they're going to do on offense. Points may be hard to come by for Michigan in this game. Kevin Wilson, he truly is an offensive mastermind. He's a great coach. You've heard Urban Meyer talk about it. He's not BSing you. You know, if Kevin Wilson if he sees some places where he can get some points on that great Don Brown defense with those, Michigan's got some good athletes on defense. They got some NFL guys out there, but if Kevin Wilson can find a wrinkle to get 24 points, you know, and Michigan's struggling on their end, man, you know, that's the game I'm excited to watch. Now watch Michigan smoke them, which could happen too. They could just run roughshod over them, just turn around and hand it off to their 3 running backs and 3 or 4 running backs that rotate and kill Indiana. But that's the one I'm watching, you know.
Listen, if Michigan loses to Indiana and Indiana doesn't bring out Ricky Callaway, Jay Edwards, and Steve Alford, that's an embarrassment. But that's the way we'll leave it. Obviously, a lot going on, people. Get on the site, see the latest on Moretti and everything else. Have a good one, Bucknutters.
Appreciate it.